welcome back. I support appreciate it. My name is Andrea, and welcome to another episode of True Crime at Bedtime. Before we get into this video, obviously, if you clicked on this video, you like true crime, and I'm here to deliver that. So go ahead and subscribe for more true crime stories. There is a link in my description box that lets you guys tell me what true crime stories you want me to cover, and I will do that for you. Now, without further ado, grab your snacks, your drinks, and your stuffies, and let's go ahead and get into the story. Today's story is going to be about the woman who drowned all 5 of her children. Andrea Yates was born in Hollowville, Texas. She was also the youngest of 5 siblings, which I find very ironic considering that she ended up having 5 children. In Andrea's teenage years, she suffered from bulimia and depression. It was actually really bad depression. She ended up being very suicidal by the age of 17. Andrea was class valedictorian. She was captain of the swim team. She was also an officer in the National Honor Society. Like, people knew her. Obviously, she was class valedictorian. She had captain of the swim team, and she was an officer of the National Honor Society. It's so ironic to me. Like, it's crazy how someone can do so good, and I'm pretty sure she was people had very high hopes for her, and then she turned around and killed all 5 of her children. I know I'm not good at saying the schools straight off the dome, so I'm going to read it real quick. But she ended up being a registered nurse at the University of Texas MD Anderson's Cancer Center. In 1989, that's when she met Russell Yates, which would be her future husband and her future father to her kids. They ended up getting married in 1993, and they had their first child a year later in 1994, and they named him Noah. Her and Russell kept having kids, and when she finally made it to her 4th child, she started getting extremely depressed. For example, on June 16th of 1999, Russell said that when he came home, he found Andrea chewing her fingers and shaking, and I guess she was having some type of panic attack. I guess he really didn't do much about it, but the next following day, he caught her trying to overdose and commit suicide. She was finally taken to the hospital, and they put her on some type of antidepressant. But once Andrea was finally released from that hospital, she begged Russell to just let her die, like she just didn't want to be here anymore. After begging him to let her die, she held a knife to her throat, and that's when she was admitted back into the hospital. This time when she was admitted to the hospital, they gave her a drug called Haldol, and it's an antipsychotic drug, and they said it worked really good for her. Like, she was doing great with it. Like, it really worked for her, and then I think they stopped giving it to her. New psychiatrist that she ended up getting stopped giving it to her, but we'll get into him later. Like I was saying, the medicine did work, and they prescribed it for her after she released so she can take him every day. Even though she was prescribed with this good medicine that genuinely helped her, the cycle of suicidal thoughts and just trying to commit suicide just continuously kept going. It was just like a cycle. Like, it was just around and around and around. She was finally given a psychiatrist. Her psychiatrist, who was named Dr. Aileen Starbranch, she ordered Andrea and Russell to not have any more children. They already had 4. Obviously, her mental health she was not mentally stable to have another one. She wasn't even mentally stable to have the ones that she already had, but they were here already. She told them, do not have any more kids. Keep that in mind. Do not have any more kids. What they go do? Have another kid. Ended up having their 5th and final child, Mary, because they did not listen to the psychiatrist when she said, do not have no more kids. Your wife is not mentally stable to handle 4 kids, and you're going to get a 5th one. Don't do it. They did. After Mary came along, which was her 5th and final baby, Andrea stopped taking her medicine and got really into the Bible and into religion, and it wasn't like a healthy thing. Because of her Bible obsession now, she stopped feeding Mary, and it got to the point where Mary had to go to the hospital because she had not been fed in days. Now, I didn't get much information on why this happened, but on April 1st, 2001, Andrea ended up getting a new psychiatrist. The psychiatrist's name was Dr. Muhammad Saeed. I'm going to say Saeed. It's probably Saeed. I'll put it on the screen. You'll see it. She was again treated and just kind of released off to do her thing. You know, it was kind of like a back and forth. And they even said later on, during like a trial or something, they were like, you know, she wasn't really treated properly. Like, they gave her medicine and it was like, you take that, you good. And then the cycle kept continuing. So you gave her a psychiatrist, then you switch her psychiatrist, and he just like, you know, don't do this, and it just seemed like it was kind of repetitive. On May 1st of 2001, Andrea filled up a bathtub planning to drown her 5 kids that one day, but something changed her mind. Something in her was like, I'm not gonna do it, so she ended up just not doing it. But later in June, Andrea stopped seeing her psychiatrist. Now, this is where Russell will start to will tick you off. The doctor gave Russell simple instructions to not leave Andrea alone with the kids, and I don't think they thought she was going to kill them, but they know her mental health wasn't all the way there, and leaving her with 5 kids alone can stress her out, and you don't know what she's willing to do. Like, they probably thought she would kill herself, not the actual kids, but you never know what can happen. And they told him, they were like, do not leave this lady with all those kids by herself. He did not listen, and he ended up leaving for work. It basically said that his mom was supposed to come an hour later after he left, but in that span of an hour, Andrea had already did what she needed to do. Andrea filled up a bathtub of water again. She drowned John, Luke, and Paul first. She then laid them out on the bed. After she laid them in the bed, she did Mary, which we all know was her 5th child. She, drowned her, and then she just left her in the tub. And then her firstborn, which was Noah, he came in and he was like, "What's wrong with Mary?" And I guess he could see the crazy in his mother's eyes, so he tried to run away, but she caught him and drowned him in the tub with Mary and left him in the tub with Mary. Now, my little theory was, it was like, because I thought the bed was like showing more remorse for those kids. I guess because it was like the first and then the last, like the firstborn and the lastborn. It just was ironic that they were both left in the tub by themselves. So as we all know how these stories usually go, the person who kills always ends up calling the police. It just always happens in these stories, She ended up calling the police, and she didn't really let them know what the situation was. She just told them to come because she needed them to come. It was an emergency. And then she called Russell and she was like, "Please come back home, blah blah blah." But he like, "What's wrong?" But she wouldn't tell him the situation. Obviously they find the kids or whatever, and then she goes on trial because she actually admitted to doing it. Like, I mean, who else would have did it? Like, all 5 of these kids didn't just drown themselves, you know what I mean? She admitted to doing it, and she went on trial. Andrea ended up confessing to her crimes in her 2nd trial instead of the 1st. She basically said that she waited for Russell to leave the house so she can just do what she needed to do, and there wouldn't be nobody to get in her way to stop her. This is where things kind of get he said, she said-y, so let's get into it. The jury saw her as guilty. They were like, "Sis, you're guilty." Now, I'm saying guilty because you know that people can plead for insanity, which means they, in the time of the crime, they didn't realize what they were doing because they were kind of like mentally ill. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're going to rewind to why this is important and why this was the first time, okay? Dr. Park Diaz, I think it was Park Diaz or Par Diaz, basically said that it was a Law and Order that episode that aired that day of a lady drowning her children. What he was trying to say is that could have been like, how can you plead for insanity when that episode just happened to come on at the same time she decided to drown her children? Of course, people didn't really look at her and was like, well, let's hear her side, because she drowned 5 of her children, and not only was it 5, like she drowned 5 people, not only was it 5 people, it was also children, and it was also her children. So you're a menace to a society at this point, you know what I mean? They were basically saying like, yeah, she's guilty, life in prison. But later on, this lady who actually wrote for Law and Order came out and was like, there's no episode at all that a lady was drowning her kids in. They held another trial because they felt like the jury was persuaded by that idea that it's just very ironic that episode came on the day that she drowned her kids. So they ended up doing a whole retrial, and she was found not guilty for reasons of insanity. She was granted release on bail only if she would admit herself into a mental hospital. Andrea confessed to the fact that she wanted to kill the kids for like 2 years. Like, she'd been planning to kill these kids for 2 years. And this is why now what I'm going to tell y'all, this is why I said that she was more into like the satanic ritual stuff, because, and I quote, Andrea told the jail psychiatrist, "It was the 7 deadly sins. My children weren't righteous. They stumbled because I was evil. The way I raised them, they could never be saved. They were doomed to perish in the fires of hell." Of course, Russell ended up filing for divorce. He was granted it March 17th of 2005. Russell ended up remarrying to Lauren Arnold, and then she later filed for divorce in 2015. Here are the updates that I have on Andrea. This was actually really recent. Like, when I look up her name, if you look up her name now, like, it'll literally say 2022. But she basically said that she doesn't want to come out of the mental hospital. Andrea is 57 now. She gets annually granted reviews so she can leave the mental hospital that she has been in, but she just says she doesn't want to. She really doesn't want to leave, and she has basically denied all the opportunities to leave the hospital. I don't really blame her because it's like, I mean, why? Why should I? Like, I have nothing to go to. My husband is gone. My children are gone. It's like, I might as well just stay here. You know what I'm saying? That might not be why she would think that, but that's how I would think. Like, you know, I don't have I don't have a husband. Nobody's gonna mess with me because I killed 5 of my children. All 5 of them. I didn't spare none of them. And then I'm talking about the 7 deadly sin. Like, I wouldn't want to come out either, just because I wouldn't have anybody or have anything, and people would be scared of me. People from my class, like nobody would want to talk to me. Nobody would want to, like, it's like starting over would be weird for her. Like, this is all she knows now because she's been here for 15 years and she literally has nothing outside of this. A Law and Order episode was later released about Andrea Yates. It was basically it was like based on her story, her drowning her kids. So it did come out later after the whole case and what she did, but it wasn't there before. Alright, you guys, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.